Thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Desiree Van Bogart, and this is As Seen on Dr. D's. And this month, I want to dive into breathing and different types of breathing a little bit more. And one of my favorite guys on the topic is Wim Hof. He is considered the Iceman. He has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I think, several times with little equipment, just doing his breathing protocols. And the thing that's interesting about this guy is he's all about cold exposure and breathing. And he talks in his book all about the benefits of cold exposure and how to overcome and calm your mind and really tackle your body and calm everything while you're being exposed to the cold. So really fascinating read. And what we're going to do is on February 14th, which does happen to be Valentine's Day, but it's from 5 to 6 o'clock in my office. So it shouldn't affect any of your Valentine's plans. Stop by. We're going to go over the Wim Hof technique. We're going to talk about this book that he has. If you read the book, it'd be really great to go over some of the fine details. If you have not read this book, then you're going to want to come and see what the breathing technique is all about. And we may even venture outside for some cold exposure and test our limits. Really fascinating book. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest getting Wim Hof Method, Activate Your Full Potential. It's not only about breathing, it's not only about cold exposure, it's really tapping into your mind and calming your nervous system. So very fascinating read. And we're going to go over that in my office February 14th from 5 to 6. I hope you join us because I think you will learn a lot. What I want to do now is I have some notes on the book that I want to share with you. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to spoil it for you, but really cool if you can get your hands on that book. With his breathing technique, I think Wim Hof is fascinating because he's all about calming the mind, warming up your intercostal muscles, which are the muscles along the ribs. He really recommends breathing before you do cold exposures. He does claim a couple interesting things in the book that he does claim that when you do his breathing techniques, it brings you from an acidic state to an alkaline state in your circulatory system. So he thinks that your blood then goes to this alkalinized state, which is a much healthier state for you to be in. He does back up these claims with lots of scientific studies that he's participated in. And a lot of this stuff has been written in scientific journals. So very fascinating. He does have research to back up a lot of these claims. He recommends that you do 3 to 4 rounds of his breathing exercises, and it takes about 20 minutes. Very, very cool protocol that he has in his book, which we will go over at our event on February 14th. He says that this breathing system, this breathing protocol that he has come up with actually activates the sympathetic nervous system to prepare you for alertness, readiness, and performance, which I think is actually really cool. If you're about to go into a sporting event or give a big presentation at work, this might be a really nice technique to do to get your mind into an alert state, a ready state, a more confident state. I found that was really interesting. He also claims that if you do this breathing technique regularly, it actually helps regulate inflammation in the body and then helps quite a bit with inflammatory diseases. So a lot of people in his book have had things like Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, MS. Things that are caused by an inflammatory response have been greatly improved just by doing this breathing technique, which I find fascinating. And I think it's definitely worth exploring versus more pharmaceuticals that aren't necessarily helping the person or giving somebody more side effects. I think this breathing technique is really cool to explore if you have any issues with that. Now, one of the things that really fascinates me about the Iceman is his cold exposure claims. So he says that If you can control your exposure to cold, then you can control your exposure to other stressors. Since cold, being in a cold shower or being in a cold bath is actually a stressor on the body. If you can learn to control your mind in those situations, it's going to give you added benefit when you are in other stressful situations, which I thought was pretty interesting. He claims that in 10 days, just 10 days of doing his cold exposure protocols will help you deal with stress better. He says it helps lessen anxiety because with this protocol, you're lowering your heart rate throughout the day. He also says that cold exposure is going to increase blood flow, increase nutrients to the cells, give you more energy because of that, and ultimately help reduce illness. So that is also very interesting. The vascular tone, he claims, becomes stronger after just a few weeks of doing this cold exposure. So your tone in your vessels that run through your body that carry your blood tighten up and constrict when you're in this cold environment. And he claims that in just a few days, you can change the tone of your vascular system to improve circulation. He also, one thing that is really cool about him is he also dives deep into the mindset of cold exposure, which I think is very important. He says it helps you develop a confidence, conviction, and connection to your mind. How cool is that? Just by taking a cold shower or taking a cold plunge. I think that's really interesting. And then he says after just 4 weeks of doing this protocol and having your body exposed to cold on a regular basis, that you won't feel that shock, that shocking sensation when you go into cold water. So all very interesting claims on the Wim Hof method and his book, the Activate Your Full Human Potential, which I am still reading. Fascinating read. If you haven't gotten your hands on it, definitely come to my office to check out what we're going to talk about with that. Now, I myself have been doing cold showers for about 30 days. So 30 days of cold showers. I want to give you my take on what has been happening and my tips to help you get this cold exposure protocol down, because I think it's really important to have these tips and maybe forego the learning curve that I did. So tip number 1 is set your mind. It's really not a hard thing to do to take a cold shower. It's really not. It's just setting your mind, knowing that it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be the most pleasant, but it's also not that bad. And it's not for a very long time. So just before you go into your cold shower, just get your mind right. Just say, I'm going to do this. It's not so bad. Let's see how it goes. I suggest starting out with a warm shower, not a hot shower. So take your regular shower in warm water. If you go from hot to cold, it is a little bit more difficult to do this protocol when you first start. So I recommend doing as cool as you feel comfortable, where you can actually shower and be in there for a long period of time. After you take your shower, what you're going to do is you're going to turn it to cool, not cold. I recommend starting with cool water, just because you are going to have that initial reaction, that gasp of, "Ooh, that's cold." What you want to do is first get rid of that initial gasp, that initial reaction that is telling your body that this is a stressor. So I recommend going from warm to cool in your shower. Now, Wim Hof suggests starting with about 30 seconds of cool shower after your warm shower. And then he says add about 10 to 30 seconds each day until you get to about a minute and a half. Minute and a half of cold exposure in your shower is what he recommends. And then after a few days where 30 seconds feels tolerable, you can then slowly make the water a little bit colder each time. So after about 30 seconds of cool water, make the water a little bit colder for another 10 to 15 to 30 seconds. That's going to really help. You're going to notice that it's actually not so cold after that initial 30-second exposure. So if you go from warm to cool to cold, your body will adapt a lot faster. And remember, you're doing about 30 seconds of the cool, 30 seconds to up to a minute of the cold water in the shower. Also, keep your mind calm while you're doing this. If you are in the shower going, oh my gosh, this is so cold, this is so cold, it's not going to be as beneficial. Wim Hof is all about connecting your body and mind. So just nice, calm, relaxing breaths. Just keep your mind calm. Just slowly count or light meditation, whatever you need to do to stay a little bit more relaxed while you're taking your cold shower is going to be beneficial. So just don't be whiny while you're doing it. And then also when you get out, I have noticed that you just feel invigorized. It's a really amazing feeling. You feel refreshed, you feel more energized. It is really cool. And what I recommend is that you hold on to that feeling, especially after doing this for 3, 4, or 5 days. You're really going to feel good coming out of the shower. Hold on to that feeling and just remember what it feels like so that the next day when you get into that cold water, you're a little more excited, a little more energized to actually do it. Helps get your mind in the right place. I will say after 30 days of doing warm, cool to cold showers and working up to about 1.5 to 2 minutes, it actually does feel really good. And it is funny because when I was reading the book, I was like, what is this like shot, like gasping for that cold exposure? Well, that totally makes sense because when you get into a swimming pool or something, we all experience that. But I have noticed that that does dissipate quite a bit as you train your body to be exposed to the cold. As far as energy goes, I don't necessarily know if I've noticed a difference, but a really cool thing is that when I do get out of a cold shower, I don't shiver. So now you're getting ready for your day or whatever, you're not shivering as much. So it actually feels refreshing. I have also been outside a lot in these very bitter, cold Minnesota days, and they just feel better. I will say, after 30 days of cold showers, the outside, the winter, it doesn't feel as bad to me as it has in years past. I wouldn't say I love the cold, but it definitely is more tolerable. And we've had some very chilly days lately. I've been outside a lot more. I've been like breathing in the cool. It feels good. Like I said, I don't know about energy yet, but I'll keep you posted on that. And I am really excited to hear what you guys think of the Wim Hof method. I hope you join us on February 14th from 5 to 6 p.m. at my office to check it out for yourself, or at least join a group of people who want to do this. I'll be there if no one else wants to do it with me. I'll go outside, get some cold exposure, do the breathing techniques, show you how it's done if you are interested. If not, definitely check out the Wim Hof method. I think there's more to the breathing exercises and cold exposure than meets the eye. And as far as the health benefits go, I am very interested in his claims and the research he shows in this book about things that have improved by him teaching other people his method. Hope you check it out. Thank you for joining me with As Seen on Dr. D's. Until next time, stay warm.